Right, I'm absolutely fuming. So they do this scam where they charge you 300 to 400 more constantly, and so they're doing that here. What they've done, they've calculated what I'm using out of my battery, and then made a figure that they charge me grid consumption for, which I get nothing for because I'm just using power out of my battery, and then they add the 300 to 400 on top of it. So I am absolutely fuming. I'm just telling you, if this happened in a marketplace, the people would kill the stallsmans. If you did this in a shop, you'd be put out of business by the police. That's straight theft. This is complete criminality. I know how my system works. So my battery has rapidly come down in its normal fashion, and these bastards have been charging me for using my own equipment. And they're charging me a kVA charge, which is this 300 for 400 watt as well, that they just constantly charge you because you've got a battery. And they're saying that, so they're charging you to have your own equipment in your own house. Constantly. And I can prove it. So all of this, you know, this has gone up massively just in this short period of time. And all I have used is battery out of my, power out of my own battery. Here's my battery imprint. What I want you to pay attention to is this sharp incline right here. So as you can see, I was using my battery, everything was fine. They've then put this load on. How do I get it to, oh, that's right, sorry. They put this load on and I can't zoom in at the moment. It's not letting me zoom in, but what I can still show you. That's not a problem. So just look at the table, this box that pops up. So basically that the battery discharges at 3. And what that means is 67's the deficit. So what's coming in on solar? 76. So I don't need to pay for nothing, okay? And I know how my system works. These bastards with their smart meter have gone and charged me this and given me absolutely nothing for it. And what you're going to find is that this figure amount is going to be 400 or so, 300 to 400 different than the load. So I can't explain that from that picture right there. But when you look at it here, when it's actively happening, this is what I mean. So you see how I'm using this much? It doesn't show you that graph. This is what I'm using for my battery. They've then taken that figure, added the kVA charge of 300 to 400, and then they're charging me grid consumption of this figure. When all that's happening is I'm just using power out of my own battery, and should it need to, and what it would normally be saying here, is that I'm using 3000. And so they've hijacked this to make it appear that I am using grid consumption instead of my battery. And yet the proof in the system, and I know how the system is optimized, they've hijacked it and caused it to do this. And look, I mean, look at the steep incline on the battery here. Look at that. So that's proof I'm using my battery. And anyway, all the data here, anything you read here, where it says load, and you've got to take the 3 away, and then whatever's in the battery. So for example here, let's just have a look. Come on. There was a case there, so 6, 7. Oh, sorry, it's pretty. I'll just stop moving. There we go. Murphy's Law, eh? Is that an example? No, let's move it again. I got my mouse on pretty high. All right. So for example here, we're in the positive, so the 3 gets cancelled out off the load, so there's 47 remaining, there's 61 to clear that out, and look what they're doing. And so if you worked out that figure, it'd be about 1.2 or so. and they will say that that's, yeah, look, it's a huge scam that they're doing here. I know it is because I know how the system works, and I watch it every day. And you know, this is them just like stabbing you in the guts to your face. I know my system, what it can do is give because I've got the hot water on, I've turned everything off in the house, I have an alarm that goes on because they don't put it on to 11:24 every day. And they take all your free solar before that as a feed-in if you haven't used it. You know, they force you to use power is what they do. It's absolute criminal what's happening here. And I can't believe that you know, they've got all this crap in the media when this is happening. Right, so just once again, so this 3 of the load, I know the battery can always provide for. And you see this amount they're saying is grid consumption? What I'm saying is my battery is providing that. They've hijacked it to make it look like it isn't. And then they've charged a kVA on my own equipment as well. Instead of a kilowatt hour, it's a kVA. I mean, this is just straight up scamming. And this information's encrypted, you see. It goes straight into like a dark web, a dark net. And so that's why it has to be caught here. And I've got it, and I'm not paying a frickin' bill. I opt out. Until you can give me proof of, until you can make me a satisfied customer, in fact. Because I want the smart meter gone. So just looking at this, it's just the battery can provide for this. This is all easily provided for by the battery. And my battery's declined in the normal way to suggest that all I've done is use my own battery. And all I ever worry about is what I was saying is that 3 is already covered. So whatever this is, 642 at the moment, or the remainder of the load, as long as the solar's here, and I know this, then I've got free hot water, basically. And, you know, I've rang them up and I said, look, you put your control load on when this blah, 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 you know. Oh, no, it goes on whenever it wants. You know, you can have it, we organise it, or the retailer organise it, or the manufacturer organise it. You know, it's the biggest scam on the face of the planet. And, you know, to me, it just seems they put more shock media, more shock media, more shock media to try to get everyone away from how everyone is being fleeced. And you wonder why everything's crashing, economy-wise, is because our money is all being siphoned away and we're getting nothing for it. And no, you know, there should be a move, you know, I don't want to become an extremist or whatever, of people that refuse to pay their bill until all of this stuff is bona fide. And, you know, the truth of the matter is this, that they know the Australian network is that established now with all the solar panels that they had to hijack it, or they're going to lose their customers altogether. Because, yeah, we were going to get free power. It's as simple as that. That's what solar gives you. It gives you free power. And so they've lost massive profits and been allowed to rip the Australian people off time and again by the government. They let it happen. The full explanation is that the Canadians have put $2 billion into the Australian infrastructure, namely installing smart meters. A new act has been established in a new industry where the exclusivity of meter reading with smart meters was sold from Origin into a new company called Acumen-metering, or whatever they call themselves. Acumen-metering, IntelliHub. And so these people basically pick up the encrypted data at the other end. However, they have direct access straight. As soon as the smart meter goes in and they know your NMI number, they run a a sonar ping on your house, and it identifies all the equipment in your house. And they then get a profile of who you are. Then they start monitoring your habits, and then they start throwing profiles onto every individual power item in your house. And that's why they make a constant buzz in this meter out there that generates higher levels of RF frequencies that isn't actually legitimate if it were based on kilowatt hour, because they've hijacked it and made it kVA. So it's a massive, huge scam. And you know, the government's, look, they're making disgusting amounts of money. And you know, you've got to ask, where has the power that the government once had to chase the money to find where it's going? Because I can tell you now, they've put a high percentage of Australia's people into debt collection, and they are allowing business to rape and pillage a fantastic loyal base of utility payers that made this country, including its taxes, what it is. And so I won't have it. How is there not an organisation on this bloody soil that can walk up to this board of directors and start throwing fire around? Full audit, chase the money. It's pretty simple crap. And instead they just let this happen. I have got no doubt in my mind about what I'm seeing here. I had no smart meter for, I can't remember, I think it was 6 weeks. And as soon as they put this system in, I was using what you're watching. And I've got records. And what I can tell you is that when they installed this on the old meter, the thing was an angel of power, of light. There was only one problem that happened, and that's when the power went out in the area. Normally not a problem, and I had power all day, but in this case, the meter, well actually this was the first time, I take it was after the smart meter was installed, because what the smart meter does is it immediately turns off your system from the network, and it gives that ability to them. And in my opinion, what they do to that angel is they cut its wings off, and they put a ring through its nose, and they put a chain to it that's on some sort of a pulling device. They enslave and malfunction your equipment to extort you completely. And no, I'm not paying for it. And the other disgusting thing is they're throttling the power you even get anyway. I mean, I don't think you understand what the capabilities they've been given with this thing. I mean, you see how it says I'm using so much power. The elements in the hot water system, they can actually increase the density of the power or decrease it. You know, this AI net zero, they've been given this ability to do whatever they want, and I can prove it. I made a video not long ago that showed, depending on the time of the day with my hot plate, if you turned it to a quarter into turning it on, a quarter of the way, like to 3 o'clock kind of thing, well, basically, at one time of the day, it hardly even worked at all. And then at the other time of the day, it was already pumping out 220, which is as high as it goes. And anyway, I don't want to go into it, but this is what they're doing. And you know, it's pretty easy to see it when it happens. It even happened on the old analog meter, where if you put like a single bar heat on, turn everything off, you can watch it carefully. It gets brighter and dimmer and brighter and dimmer and brighter and dimmer like that. Well, anyway, I had a 3-bar heater. It's now a 1-bar heater since the smart meter's put in. I've also seen there was a complete blackout at my house. Turned out it was the fuse on the side of the house, almost burnt my house down. I had no power for 4 days. During this time though, the fridge that was in the kitchen, the switch at the wall was off, the main switch at the mains was off, and the fridge was still on. And the other thing, it was turning on and off. So it's just unbelievable. That I guess I'm not dead. You know, they tried to burn the house down. You just can't make this stuff up. What's gone on here? It's just absolute. It's warfare. It's like a warfare that they're doing, and they're just coming through, swinging with their weapons, and they're just raping and pillaging. They're just taking everyone's money and saying too bloody. And the government's like, and all the organisations are like too bloody bad. That's what it is. Now, they'll chew you up, spit you out into some debt collection agency, when all along it's a massive scam. You didn't actually get, like in this case, there's no way on bloody earth that I am using 1,000 grid consumption. There's just no way on earth. So they've hijacked the equipment, they're malfunctioning it, and you know, the horrible thing is this is what they call a certified meter. And that's their whole argument. I contact them now and say, I can prove to you, I've watched my equipment, that it's being malfunctioned. They'll turn around and say, oh, that's not a certified meter. And yeah, so the only way around it, and they're aware of it, but there is no organisation set up by the government. You know, this will eventually come, but it's a massive scam at the moment that actually comes out and tests the harmonics, which is what you require, like really fancy meters, metering equipment. They're like multimeters, Fluke and brands like this, where you can basically put a loop around an extension lead or a cable, and it will then analyze it. And that's all that's required. But you know, they're not doing that, and it's pretty obvious why, because the government's as guilty as the power company and the metering company in all of this. And it will be pretty tricky tricking their judge. When I say tricking, or convincing their judge of what they've done. So anyway, but this is just a complete scam. So let's go have a look. So what you'll notice is this has gone up heaps. And then we'll look at the consumed. So this is all falsified, the entire block. And I'll just refresh this. I don't know why I can't zoom in. I want the zoom in feature. No, for some reason it's still not letting me do it. But basically, so where the load is, the blue, 3 gets taken at how my system works normally is when it needs power, it'll go straight to 3. And that's what I'm alleging here. And everything else that they've said is false, and we actively watch it happen. And I know it because I've watched my system work properly for a long time. And so there should be at times a very small amount of power required where the 3 from the load is cancelled. So you've got 51. So for example, here there's 43 coming in. Oh gosh, I've got to not move. There we go. Oh, can you stay there? Okay. I wanted to try and find a negative in my case scenario so I can just show you and then explain the other. I'm sorry, I'm trying to, yeah, so okay, for example here. So here, in this case, 3 would be from the battery dealt with, then you've got 51 needing to be dealt with remaining, and so you've got 43 coming in. So there's a deficit there. You know, that's what, 7, 8, I think it's 8. So it's 0.08 of a kilowatt hour. I would then need to be charged to be consumed from the grid in this case. But look what they're doing. And I've come to appreciate that they calculated that based off the active use from my battery at the time where they falsified it. So I would have been watching, would have said 1.4 being used from the battery. They're saying it's 179 coming from the grid, when in reality, the full amount was being used from my battery, bar 9 or 8, 0.09 or 0.08 kilowatt. So yeah, I know how this system works, and no, I'm not going to pay for your bullshit, and I'll see you in court. I mean, there's no way on earth. I can't believe you've done this to the country. You disgusting people. I hope you rot in hell. And yeah, and the other thing, look, this has gone close to double what it was. They're nothing but bloody scammers, mate. And yeah, how is this not being dealt with by the government? You know why? Because they're making a huge amount. You think, yeah. Oh, and here's another thing. Look what they've done here. They've come in and they've said, oh, my battery at 11.2% is at 0. So now what they've done, they've gone straight to just straight charge me grid consumption. So yeah, they have, like I said, they've cut the wings of the angel. I'm going to go turn the hot water load off now since they're doing this dirty crap. All right, so what's happening? Oh, so yeah, can't take any, charge to the battery, no. So here we go. So these greedy pricks, after what they've just done, are still taking a feed in. Let me go check what the hot water's like. And that's another thing, it's a barely noticeable difference. So there you go. So yeah, they're when you control the firmware of someone's equipment, the metering is out of integrity and out of exchange. And no way on earth I'm going to let you try to force your bogus results on me when I can quite easily prove everything you've done as false. So I'm just waiting for the harmonics testing to be done to basically certify my equipment and thereby null and voiding all your bills. And, you know, if I had my way, I'd do that to you on a national level for all people. And I'd put you out of business and I'd lock you in jail for what you've done. All of you. All your board of directors. And I'd penalise your shareholders for what's happened. Because this is illegal activity. And they, because of the actions of the board of directors, are all guilty as well. And all the politicians involved with it, they all need to be sued and put in jail as well. Absolutely disgusting. Look at this. Shame on them, dude. Don't worry, your days are numbered. Scammers.